On the Fringe with Dan Radio Style. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. The storm is approaching, folks, and we might be hearing about it soon. Don't know. Trump's talking about some magical announcement that's supposed to happen that may very well have happened. I'm going to share everything I know up to this point on the Cinco de Mayo. Happy Cinco de Mayo, by the way. And it's just shy before noon on the east or west coast here. So who knows what could happen as the day progresses. A lot is happening. A lot is transpiring. And people are waking up at a very accelerated pace. Audits are moving forward. Mike Lindell's teasing about Michigan. We've got some news around that. There is a lot going on. I swear, you miss a day, you miss, who knows, like a whole bunch of stuff can seem to happen in one day. Let's jump into the news. Got a lot to cover here. Psaki, the Sack attack, B-Sack. She's blaming Trump for the border crisis. You know, because Biden's the one that said, surge the border. That's totally Trump's fault. And then Trump was building the wall to, try to keep these things from happening. So, of course, totally Trump's fault. And Biden, he wasn't the one that actually stopped the building of the border wall when he became president. No. I mean, again, this is just absurdity. The way that the Democrats right now, the deep state Democrats, whatever, the progressive, crazy Democrats that are there, because there's some good Democrats. I'm going to continue to say that. There's just some really crappy ones, too. And there's some crappy Republicans. But they keep blaming everything else outside of themselves. They keep pointing fingers everywhere else. Well, they got three fingers friggin' pointing back at them. They refuse to see that. So, again, no surprise, but par for the course. So, our good old friend Kerry and his lovely friends, the Iranian regime, and, of course, Biden, they're all happy to be in that place. Well, these people that we're about to give a bunch of money to recently put out this video showing the Capitol building getting destroyed. Now, of course, they're going to blame that on QAnon and Trump and everything else because, of course, it's somehow Trump's fault that he didn't continue to give the Iranians more cash. But check it out. So, yeah, they blew up the Capitol building. I mean, I'm sure Pelosi was in there at the time. And, that's just because that's the only way it actually seems like it might have been a good thing. Who knows? And, it's funny, and we're hearing stories about this. This is totally an aside, but that General Flynn, I think it was, is suggesting that there may never be anyone living in the White House again. So, again, what's playing out and what Washington, D.C. is relative to what the rest of the country is, I think is going to be spelled out for us in the not-too-distant future. Now, for those of you that are, and I'm sure there's very few of you in this audience, but for those of you that think we should get rid of police officers, and then when you do successfully get rid of police officers, then complain that there's no police officers when there's a crime, hello, that's exactly what happens. People that are special, people that don't quite have all their nuts and bolts going on, right? They're not the sharpest tool in the shed. In fact, I don't know, they're maybe something like an eggplant versus a tack, right? Like not sharp at all, right? You can't even, I don't know why an eggplant's what I chose, but doesn't matter. So police refuse to enter George Floyd's autonomous zone. They force a bleeding woman to go to them. Now, that sounds bad in and of itself. Don't get me wrong. Bleeding people, like, hey, cops, help me. The cops are like, yeah, sorry, no, bleeding person. You need to come to us. Oh, dragging themselves on a bleedy stump or whatever, right? Well, what actually happened, oddly, it make it worse, over in this wonderfully peaceful area without police, where this autonomous zone, this George Floyd zone, where they care so much about each other, that at about 2 a.m., there was a domestic incident in a residence on the corner of 38th and Elliott. A female was pushed out of a window and was cut everywhere. She was asked to meet responders a block away from the no-go zone. Our leader said the hostage situation would end, but it hasn't. So, a couple things. One, obviously there's all sorts of troubles in paradise, apparently. Two, notice how nobody helped bring the victim to the police officers. No. And of course, the police officers didn't go in there, and I don't blame them. I wouldn't either. So, want to have everything my way, but when the push comes to shove, where's the police officers? Right, and that's what most of these nut jobs are saying. Where's the police officers? Well, certainly not coming to help you. Interesting. Speaking of things along this line, BLM Group issues I don't want to say frightening because it's just standard. It's the standard BS. I'm not frightened by BLM at all. But they're issuing a list of demands for America. Who else gives demands? Who else gives demand? When do demands go? Oh, yeah, when there's like hostages, when you're a terrorist. Oh, all those things. Oh, yeah, that's right. Demands come from terrorists. Oh, thanks, BLM, for really helping us see exactly what you are. Now, one of their demands is to convict and ban Trump from future political office. Okay, BLM, you're nuts, and we'll all happily meet you on the street, I guess, for that discussion. So again, the second demand, equally ridiculous, I agree with that. Expel Republican members of Congress who attempted to overturn the election and incited a white supremacist attack. This is called terrorism, folks. These are terrorists. You do not negotiate with terrorists. You strong arm, you firm fist, you hold the line. That's what you do with terrorists. Let's see, I thought we had a third and fourth one down here. I don't know if I'm going to easily find them because they're all just as lame. The fourth one quite simply demands that Trump is banned from all digital media platforms. I think the third one was they didn't want him to be able to run for anything ever again. Something silly along those. I lost the third one somewhere. Again, they're just retarded, period. And that is what happens when you deal with terrorists. So again, everybody's starting to see this, or everybody's already seeing this. Trust me when I say the numbers are well in excess of anything BLM can put together is on the other side. Well in excess of any numbers they have. We've got 5, 6, 7, 8 times that number of people, probably way more, because I do think this is an extremely small minority and not even just representing all of the black community. I think it's a pretty small minority, maybe 5 to 10% of the population overall. Yeah, they don't have the numbers, folks. So we hold the line. It's not frightening at all. There's nothing about this that's frightening. This is just them showing their hand. No big deal. No big deal at all. We're going to continue. Soros-connected Secretary of State Katie Hobbs. All sorts of fun stuff we've been hearing about her lately. Well, apparently she snuck an Arizona outsider into the 2020 election audit. A clandestine spy, or clandestine, however you properly say that, doesn't matter. Well, apparently this Soros-connected individual, this Hobbs, inserted Macias onto the floor of the Arizona Veterans Memorial Coliseum, where the Maricopa County election was taking place, without notifying the auditors who he was or why he was there, per the tweet below. Obviously, we can't trust these people. It's insanity what is going on. These buggers on the Maricopa County are going to be in big trouble. This board of supervisors, they are going to be in huge trouble, and things are just getting worse and worse and worse for them. And by the way, am I the only guy that actually thinks, do you guys remember the Hunger Games? The dude that invented the games? I don't know if you guys remember him. I pulled up a picture, wanted to see. Doesn't that kind of look like him a little bit? I was like, that looks like the dude from Hunger Games. I think it kind of does. Obviously, he doesn't have as cool a beard. But, you know, there you go. That's what I'm thinking. Democrat Secretary of State, who's fighting Arizona audit, once vowed to use her office to help Democrats take over. I guess we can't exactly trust this lady at all. Democratic Arizona Secretary of State Katie Hobbs promised while running for her current position in 2018 that if she were to win, she would help Democrats prevail in races statewide. Hobbs made a pledge at the Democratic Candidates Forum in the spring of that year, saying, "We are going to do very well electing statewide Democrats, and the Secretary of State's office is how we're going to hold on to those wins, how we're going to continue to make gains in legislature and really create a state that reflects all our values." And that's what happens when the Secretary of State gets involved in election laws, which they're not legally allowed to do. Yes, so this is going to look worse and worse and worse. Katie Hobbs looks horrible. Now she's injecting spies into the audit. Again, these people's days are done. And I've heard it said before, and as much as I am peaceful all the way through and through, these people seriously are not going to be able to walk the streets after everybody comes to terms and finds out all the nasty, horrible stuff they have done. Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, just chatting about them a moment ago. They're at it again. They're not going to provide routers requested by the auditors of the county's 2020 election results. Remember these faces: Clint Hickman, Jack Sellers, Steve Churchcree, Bill Gates, Steve Gallardo. These guys are all criminals. Every freaking one of them. Maricopa County officials have not fully complied with the state Senate's election audit subpoenas. Big surprise, right? The Senate's got legal right to do what it's doing, and the Board of Supervisors are fighting it every step of the way. The Board of Supervisors, who are supposed to be involved in making sure elections are safe, secure, and trusted. And they are doing everything in their power to make sure nothing's above board, nothing's transparent, and none of the shenanigans come to the surface. And that's exactly what they're trying to stop. So these 5 guys, and there's no women. Interesting. These 5 people are doing everything in their power to keep things from moving forward. Anne Arundel County plaintiffs introduced new evidence in the 2020 election case. Experts were able to compromise data on data and flip votes. We're hearing more and more and more about this coming out. We have proof that voting machines used the 2020 elections can be compromised and votes easily transferred from one candidate to another. We can flip votes at the tabulator precinct level. We can flip votes at the county level. The American people are losing their voice for the future of our democracy. We must fight together for free and fair elections. And this is really where all of us come into play. Holding the line is not accepting that this frightening thing is happening, not accepting that what they're saying is true, not accepting that there's going to be segregation in ballparks for those that are vaccinated and those that aren't. This is not how the world's going to play out, folks. We're holding the line. That's what we're doing. So every time you read one of these headlines that suggests otherwise, remember, that's what we're for. We are stopping this. We are successfully stopping this. And anytime you wonder, are we being successful or no? Look at how freaked out the Democrats are. Look at what the Board of Supervisors are doing in Arizona. Look at what's happening in Michigan. Look at what's happening with Gretchen Whitmer. Look what's happening in New York. Look what's happening with Gavin Mussolini. They are freaked out. We've got them against the ropes, and we're going to continue to push forward. They are going to dread that this day came because they are not going to win. All of the truth's going to come out, and these guys are toast. So we can flip votes. We can do all that nonsense. Michigan elections happening today. Do you think putting your intent on ballots matters? Machines convert data, and data can be manipulated. So imagine if someone wanted to move Michigan from red to pink and then run the media narrative that people just don't like Trump. I can show you how to switch 160,000 votes at the precinct level. It's all coming out, folks. It is coming out. It's why people are saying when this truth that's coming out, this truth that is busting through the seams is definitely going to change the game. Mike Lindell's talking about it. Game changer soon emerge from Michigan. We obviously have everything going on in Maricopa County for Arizona. That's moving forward. We're seeing all the shenanigans playing out to try to stop it. And Michigan starting to roll forward now too without even really doing an audit. Very interesting. So Mike Lindell's been talking about this with Bannon's War Room. By the way, great show. Can't possibly state that enough. The only criticism I have to you, Mr. Bannon, is you just like when you interrupt people, you like interrupt them like 100 times. You're like, all right, okay, pop, okay. And then it's like eventually you interrupt them. So either A, get your guests to shut up sooner, or B, just don't have to say it so damn many times, man. That's all. That's my only criticism. Other than that, I love the show. And that's a small little thing. Again, I make plenty of mistakes. You guys probably say, hey, Dan, you talk too much. See? That's a good mistake. Weekling Kevin McCarthy says Republican House members are concerned unhinged Liz Cheney can't carry out the message. You think? Yeah, no kidding. No crapola. Yeah, and McCarthy, he's also getting a lot of flack. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, they are basically bailing, ditching and bailing. They're dropping their drop tanks, if you will. And Liz Cheney is the drop tank. She is drag. She is dragging the deep state Republicans down. She is dragging the rhinos down. And one thing I really want to call out, folks, again, talking about, are we winning this? The rhinos are listening to us. Here's proof. They're about to bail out on one of their key people. This is Cheney's daughter. Cheney is one of the dirtiest, nastiest pieces of poo that ever walked the face of the earth. This is the deep state's glory child. And they are ditching her because of how toxic she is. Now, McCarthy's going to be joining that list as well. We are winning this war. You guys remember anything about Red Castle, Green Castle? Just wondering. This got posted out by the 101st Airborne Division, another military site posting comms, most likely. The Faces of Victory, congratulations to our own Captain Richardson and Captain Javan, the winners of this year's Best Sapper competition, Screamin' Eagles. Woohoo! Pretty awesome. Red Castle's a big deal. Yeah, looks like a Red Castle to me too. Now, for those of you that are like, Red Castle, well, there's been a few of them. Been a few Red Castle things. Where have you seen that before? We have this powerful wall in New Mexico completed. So this post had the Red Castle thing in it. Interesting. We've got post 2670. That's got way the hell down here. Red Castle. At what point is something mathematically impossible? The very next day. Red Castle, Green Castle, public access to intel. We're getting Red Castle for sure now. Not sure when Green Castle comes. Be on the lookout. We've seen Dan Scavino say blue to green. Again, we're getting all sorts of interesting comms all over the place, so we'll see. And then obviously, National Secretary, think Green, Red Castle, think military, happy holidays. So again, a few posts coming around that whole Red Castle thing. Catherine Herridge sharing some very interesting information for us. Got a new letter going out to FBI Director Wray. Why almost a year after the IG's report about FISA abuses, the surveillance court found the FBI still, after everything that Barr was doing and everything that's happening, we're still seeing it's abusing its warrantless surveillance authority. IG found 17 errors. Again, anytime they use the word 17, it's just been co-opted, folks. Who cares? Right? If she said 19, if she said 15, I don't think it freaking matters. Granted, Catherine Herridge I think is one of the people on our side, so maybe she meant it that way. Whatever. The 17 actually came from the documentation that they share in here. Let's look at a couple of these. There's 3 documents here that are significant. Now, this one right here, calling out this little circled spot. So, according to recent released opinion from the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, the Federal Bureau of Investigation has been seriously and systematically abusing its warrantless electronic surveillance authority. On this document down here, the report discovered 17 significant errors and omissions. They're talking about how they're illegally looking into American systems. This FBI was misconduct thoroughly detailed by the DOJ Office of Inspector General, suggesting a pattern of abuse and deficiencies in the FBI's FISA process. In December 2019, the OIG issued a report finding the FBI had abused FISA processes illegally surveil an American citizen associated with President Trump's campaign. And finally, please explain why almost a year after the OIG's report about FISA abuses, the FISC found the FBI to still be abusing its warrantless surveillance authority under Section 702. Jim Jordan, Ohio, and Mr. Biggs, Andy Biggs, he's a ranking member as well. So these guys are sending the letter out to Christopher Wray saying, hey, dude, you want to explain to us why the hell you haven't done anything about this at all? Ever? Just wondering. Hello. Lawmakers to FBI head, we write to request information about the FBI's illegal spying activities. Andy Biggs, Arizona, Jim Jordan, Ohio, letter, just basically read it. According to a recently released opinion from the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, the Federal Bureau of Investigation has been seriously and systematically abusing its warrantless electronic surveillance authority. That's just a powerful sentence. Seriously and systematically abusing its warrantless electronic surveillance authority. Fantastic. It's coming. It's coming, folks. Facebook Oversight Board upholds ban on Trump, censures social site for standard-less penalty. They're giving him like 6 months, I guess, to figure out whether or not they're going to let Trump back on Facebook. I'm going to be totally honest with you, folks. I think the one thing, and I'm going to deep state, I'm going to give you a little hint. You want to make it difficult for all of us? Let Trump come back on Facebook. Seriously. Let him come back on Facebook. Let him post his little heart on Facebook. Because what that'll do to damage our movement, and you guys are like, shh, Dan, don't tell them. They know this. Whatever. What that does to damage our movement is it gets people back on Facebook. It'll actually maybe save Facebook. No, keep Trump pushed off. Keep him off. Why? Because that's helping all these other platforms, which is now a direct threat to everything that Facebook and Google and everything you losers are up to. So please, keep Trump banned. That would be best for all involved. Speaking of Donald Trump, on Tuesday, he launched a communications platform after his months-long ban from social media sites like YouTube, Facebook, Snapchat, blah, blah, blah. So he's got his new website. We're going to look at it, but it's www.donaldjtrump.com/desk. Now, one thing I want to point out, a lot of people talked about how when Donald Trump said we're going to have our own platform, and everyone's like, he's going to make a social media platform. I've been saying no from the get-go. First off, I didn't think it was a good idea because of conflict of interest, because he's going to be president or he still is president. So again, I guess I am basically saying I was right, but it's more than that. It was an absurd idea that people took from a snippet of quote that was just totally misrepresented. This makes a crap ton of sense. To have his own website makes a crap ton of sense. So here it is, DonaldJTrump.com, and it's cool. Here's a place where he can post all of his stuff. Now, something that's very important to call out. There are Facebook, Twitter, and you can like stuff, which is great. There's absolutely no place to respond. There's no place to share your own stuff. This is not a social media site. This is Donald Trump's website, where he can control what information's put out, where if he wants to announce a storm's coming, he can, and nobody can stop it. Now, what can happen and what will happen, for those of you still on Twitter and Facebook, okay, you're going to go ahead and click one of these things, and you're going to share his stuff. Most of his stuff you're going to be able to share. But eventually, the one thing that really matters, or we're going to get some important stuff that's going to start ramping up to the one thing that really matters, and you're going to share that, you're going to get taken down off Twitter. You're going to get taken down off Facebook. That's what's going to happen. Now, there is some advice we've been given. I'm going to get to it here very shortly. That'll help you share this information on sites like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, etc., and get around the AI algorithm. So very important, in my opinion, to not use these buttons. If you really want to share his stuff and really get his information out to one of these two choices, don't use these links. Doctor it a little bit. We'll talk about it coming up here in a second, so stay with me. But otherwise, this is fantastic. So all the posts in there. Liz Cheney is a warmongering fool, has no business in Republican Party leadership. We want leaders who believe in the Make America Great Again movement and prioritize the values of America first. Elise Stefanik is a far superior choice, and she has my complete and total endorsement for GOP conference chair. Elise is tough and smart communicator, so good on her. So why Trump's new blog could lead to more social media takedowns. I pretty much just covered that. People are going to share stuff. Ultimately, that's going to get you banned. Now, I don't think Trump's doing that intentionally. I think Trump's doing this knowing full well that a lot of stuff's going to get pushed out, and then a lot more people are going to get banned, and then a lot of those people are going to end up on Parler, Telegram, Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey, Minds, Gab, right? They're going to end up on the other sites. The other sites are how we take down the deep state. So is this part of the plan? Yes, because a large number of the sheeple that are even the Anons, right? A large number of these sheeple are going to post directly Trump stuff, and they will have their accounts taken down. Just know that. It's going to happen. You can avoid it if you've got an awesome following and you really don't want to lose it. And I get that. I lost my YouTube channel. It sucks, but starting over is possible, and success is finding me. Shoot, I'm hooking up with Patriot Street Fighter on Monday, Scott McKay, right? I got hooked up with this guy. This is going to be good. Again, we're moving forward as a group. We're making these new platforms stronger and more robust. So from Donald Trump, what Facebook, Twitter, and Google have done is a total disgrace and an embarrassment to our country. Free speech has been taken away from the President of the United States because the radical left lunatics are afraid of the truth. But the truth will come out anyway, bigger and stronger than ever before. The people of our country will not stand for it. These corrupt social media companies must pay a political price and must never again be allowed to destroy and decimate our electoral process. None of these people should ever get voted into office again. We are making sure the elections going forward are secure, and we're definitely cleaning up 2020. All of this is happening right now. By the time the next election shows up, we will have it secure. That will happen. Now, again, I already shared this, the statement about warmonger Liz Cheney, virtually no support in the great state of Wyoming. So again, we're going to move forward. Oh, this is slightly different, I guess. So the evidence, including no legislative approvals, are demanded by the U.S. Constitution, shows the exact opposite. Had Mike Pence referred the information on 6 states, only need 2, back to the state legislatures, and had gutless and clueless Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, he blew 2 seats in Georgia that should have never been lost, fought to expose all of the corruption that was presented at that time, with more found since, we would have had a far different presidential result, and our country would not be turning into a socialist nightmare. Never give up. And they're 100% right on that. Never give up. Never surrender, right? So, again, that's where we're heading. That's what's going to happen. We're winning the war, folks. We are winning the war. Now, this is the thing where they talk about Facebook, Twitter. So be careful. That's really, I already talked about that, so I don't need to get into this. Now, this is a great example of what to do. And what I'm probably going to try to do is see if I can pull this up in the channel. So let me go ahead and just hit that right now. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, so what you may notice, I'll pull it up here. You see how there's little itty-bitty squares? I don't know if you can see that. It's really faint. You can maybe pause it, but you can see little squares, little checkered patterns in here. That makes it different. That makes it slightly different enough to where the AI sees it as a different document, sees it as a different fingerprint, if you will. Digital things have a fingerprint. It's I forget, a histogram or something like that. I think that's the correct term. That fingerprint's unique, and it's very specific. It just has to do with where all the pixels are supposed to be on the screen. It creates a very interesting little graph, and that's how a lot of this technology is used, to be honest with you. That being said, that's what you do. You make it slightly different by adding some additional histograph stuff in here, and it causes a little bit of a problem for them. Let me see. So this is kind of her. I'm going to share this. So hang on. Let's watch this really quick. And this is Mel Q, I think, showing how she does it. So pulls it. You can slowly do this. You can watch it slowly. But she's walking through how she puts this background stuff on these posts so they aren't figured out by the AI. So if that's something you want to be a part of and you want to be able to share these posts, watch this, maybe go back and watch this, maybe go to Mel Q's channel and check it out. She'll show you how to do it in there. But yeah, changing the opacity so you can, it's not like just this huge grid sitting on top of it. And once you've got that, you save it as a new image, and now it's different than everybody else's. So that's how you get around the AI. That's how you fix the problem that they're going to find. This thing's got a very specific histograph. You're going to get barred and banned. If you make something that's this, and by the way, all of you that do this, the pattern's probably going to be slightly different for each and every one of you, which means none of your docs are going to match. Now, something they've talked about in the past, just to be really obvious, is if you put a big X in the corner, or a big square in the corner, and a square in the bottom corner, and a square in the bottom corner, you've darn near almost changed it enough right there. So again, there's a number of ways that you can make small tweaks. So we've talked about Trump not having a social media platform, and everyone's like, we're going to have a social media platform, and Trump's going to be able to say whatever he wants to say. Well, true. He's got a website where he can type whatever the hell he wants on there, which is awesome. And on top of that, what is frank speech for? Right now, best I can tell, because it's not really accepting us to leave our own messages and do our own thing. Right now, what it is basically a TV station that's going to play anything that's pro-Trump, pro-Patriots, or whatever, without being able to be taken down. When the S hits the fan, this is one site you're definitely going to want to maybe glue into if you haven't already. I believe that's a huge part of what frank speech was built for. It's under the guise of a social media platform, but as you've figured out and I've figured out, it's not a social media platform at all. It's Mike Lindell TV. This is going to play out soon. And I really do think that's kind of, they're saying it's because of security, and it might be. I mean, this is a little bit of speculation here for sure, but it makes sense to me. And this has been hardened pretty significantly. So when the S hits the fan, I am expecting frankspeech.com to become a place where we are going to get actual information about what's going on. So the only thing they're really going to be able to do is to try to shut down the internet. And so that may be what the blackout's referring to. We'll see how that plays out. So Jenna Ellis is talking about this big announcement coming tomorrow morning on the effort for election integrity in America. Did you really think we weren't working on this? Pretty awesome. A lot of people speculated. Let's check it out. This is the best I think. I think this is what they're referring to. Pretty sure. American Greatness Fund announces launch of the Election Integrity Alliance. American Greatness Fund announced today the launch of the Election Integrity Alliance. The Election Integrity Alliance will build and unite bipartisan allies across the country focused on ending election fraud and strengthening election safeguards by providing information, resources, endorsements of allies, efforts, and solutions to secure free and fair elections. The Election Integrity Alliance will be a centralized hub of the allies that provide communication to voters and tools to legislators, legislators, and administrators to enforce legal protections for American elections. The EIA National Board is comprised of individuals who have fought for election integrity at great personal risk and who are champions for free and fair elections. Some of the names you might recognize: Jenna Ellis, Ken Paxton, the Attorney General in Texas, Peter Navarro, major Trump administrator advisor, Bernie Kerelik, he's a retired New York Police Commissioner, Sebastian Gorka, you guys have seen him a lot on Newsmax, big time. Michael Donnelly, attorney and constitutional lawyer, professor, and Myrna Taraf, former Trump legal team special assistant. All of these people are serving as board members. This is big news, and possibly what Trump was hinting at as well. And again, this is huge. This is like a bunch of lawyers that can get together and put lawsuits against the government for doing illegal stuff. So odds are they're going to be super busy because there's so much friggin' illegal stuff that our government likes to do. Now, I have to share this. I am not an expert, so please don't take it as such. I'm just really leery about everybody jumping on board of the Bitcoin crypto thing. Again, it's a very volatile investment. The reason it's volatile is because it's not really tied to anything. And as much as people will turn around and sell you on it and say, that's why you should trust it, it's not tied to anything. That's a good and a bad. It is a good and a bad. So all things come down to one point they make on here. Language aside, however, sentiments exactly, cryptocurrency is legit if it's printed on copper, but then it's not crypto. Don't trade fiat paper for super mega fiat digital. So, and that's true. Crypto is based on nothing at all. At all. I mean, dollars are at least maybe tied to oil or maybe tied to our economy and what we're, right? Like there's sort of a backing to it. Now, I admit it's crap and it's totally a crap currency. There's no question about it. It is fiat paper money. It's becoming worthless without a doubt. But crypto's the same way. Really is. So again, be broad-minded when you're coming to investing and what you're going to do with your income. And of course, I'm not here to sit here and say don't get crypto. I think it's a good idea to have some crypto. But I will say, when the going gets tough, and if the government or whoever, deep state, decides they want to shut you down and all your money's tied up in a digital bank that you can't actually walk down to an ATM or even get a bunch of coins and shove them in a drawer in your house, where they literally could shut down your wallet and you're broke. Period. Broke. It's completely electronic and it's not even real. You can't hold it. Something to consider. Again, I don't want to belabor it more than I already have. Chauvin files for new trial, says jury was tainted by media coverage. You think? You think maybe the jury went home at night and said, oh God, they're gonna burn down our city. We've got Maxine Waters telling us that she's asking them to riot even further. We've had people that actually had pictures taken of them as they were going in. These people are probably going to have their houses burned down. Yeah, I'm reasonably sure they didn't get a fair trial. And on top of that, one of the people that were in the jury, apparently it was juror number 52, she was out protesting and anti-cop protesting. So I'm sure when the lawyers were asking questions like, hey, have any of you ever protested police officers? I'm pretty sure she said no. That's called lying. That being said, I don't know how criminal that is. I'm sure it's contempt or something like that. But long story short, and we all know this guy's going to get another trial at some point. Now, I'm going to say this straight up. It ain't going to happen soon. Don't expect it to. And in all honesty, I would say don't want it to. I mean, I want to see this guy get a fair trial. I absolutely do. But there's still so much heat. I think there's a couple things we've got to work through, and then the risk of riots is actually easier to deal with. So right now, very contentious times. I think, doing a mistrial and then setting up another trial is definitely going to get those riots to happen. And that's what the deep state wants. The deep state wants riots badly. They didn't get them. We messed up their whole deal by calling guilty. They didn't think that was going to happen. You know why? Because he wasn't guilty. But the jury found him guilty and might have very well have saved thousands of lives in the process by sacrificing one guy that, I don't know, frankly, on camera looked really bad. I know he was on the back of his shoulder blade, and I know the guy, Floyd, was on drugs. But, man, I'll never forget that picture, and I was pissed off. That triggered me the first time I saw that. So, we're hopefully going to see that play out correctly, and that guy should hopefully get justice properly someday soon, I hope. We'll see how it all plays out. Failed St. Louis prosecutor and crackpot Kim Gardner faces misconduct probe for illicit conduct during Greten's case. Greten's case? I don't know. May lose her law license. Oh, hey now. So yeah, last year St. Louis saw its highest homicide rate. Their circuit attorney, Kim Gardner, state officials passed legislations to allow the state attorney general to take over homicide cases in St. Louis after 90 days if circuit attorney Kimberly Gardner hasn't filed charges or upon request from her chief law enforcement officer. So Soros-funded circuit attorney rejected several open and shut cases due to the fact that she believed local police officers were racist. Just wouldn't see the cases. Wouldn't see the cases because, cops are racist. That's it. Well, where's your proof? I don't need any. They're cops. They're racist. Done. End of story. It's like, what? Well, wait. Hello. Not everybody and everything falls into your perfect little thing. In fact, hardly anybody falls into your stupid little world. So Gardner's released all of the protesters and looters in 2020 after the deadly George Floyd riots in St. Louis. Now, I'm going to say there's a few reasons for this. One, these same rioters, I'm going to call them what it is, there's not a whole lot of them. Now, granted, in each individual city, you've got people that are angry, that are willing to burn down their own communities. But the instigators that they bus in from other locations, there's maybe a few buses worth of these people across the nation. Now, these are the actual foot soldiers for Antifa, and they're the ones that are tied into the communications at the top. You put all them in jail, well, shoot, Antifa goes bye-bye. So you can't have that happen. They've got to let them back out, don't they? Well, apparently, KMOV is reporting an investigation by the state's chief disciplinary council has found probable cause that St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner committed professional misconduct after complaints made by the legal team representing former Governor Eric Greitens. A state website published Tuesday Gardner's name in relation to a pending disciplinary hearing that indicates she is the subject of an alleged ethical violation. The circuit attorney will likely face a disciplinary panel to weigh the allegations and make a finding. Ultimately, punishment would be decided by the Missouri Supreme Court and could range from admonishment to suspension or revocation of her law license. It is not known yet the exact nature of the violations. A request for comment from Kim Gardner's office went unanswered, and she's just going to lie anyway. Who cares? Or say something that's just lawyer speak. Probably wouldn't lie because that's going to get her in trouble. So she'd use lawyer speak. But attorneys representing former Governor Greitens filed complaint against Gardner's law license shortly after the conclusion of the criminal case back in 2018. Just once again, we're taking these people down, folks. They are going down. We are winning this game. Shared on Q-tips from Beach Milk, some of my favorite milk out there. I believe a version of this is what they have planned for us. And I really thought there was some truth to this. So give me a second on this, and I think you guys will be like, oh, that kind of makes sense. And I think it kind of makes sense too. From all accounts, the vaccines are designed to cause an overreaction of the immune system. This is something that we've had actually verified from, it was on Bannon's report. There was a doctor. I shared his link. It was a while back. I can't remember it, and there's no way I'm going to find it, and I'm not even going to go bother looking for it. But that's what he was talking about. It causes this type of overreaction by the immune system, or inflammation is essentially what we hear that as, or a cytokine storm, cytokine, I don't know. I'm thinking it's ein, because usually that's how those are pronounced. But whatever. With whatever trigger our immune system next, meaning that the next thing that comes and gets your immune system fired up, it's going to overfire up. It's going to over-inflame. You're going to have just a small cold that's going to turn into full-blown pneumonia. Not you, but people that might have gotten the vaccine, it's likely your body's going to look at that and go, oh, and it's going to get into a crazy immune response. And you get too many white blood cells or too much pus, you basically die from that. So what was shared, and it's very interesting theory, let's call it that. The vax is designed to work in conjunction with the common cold. The vax didn't get mass deployed until cold flu season was ending for a reason. It will make the next common cold flu extremely lethal. So next cold season is when it begins, at which point it will be called a COVID variant and labeled COVID-21. This time real people will die of it, appearing to die of cold-like symptoms. It won't be a scamdemic, but an artificially created real one, because germ theory is a hoax, so you can't release a pandemic virus like movies programs you to think. They had to prime it first with the vaccine. So again, these people are going to come, they're going to get the cold, common cold, and probably that'll be the end of them. It's not going to matter for you and I that didn't get vaxxed because it's still just a common cold. Our immune systems work. Their immune systems have been messed with and likely will not be good. And it's sad. I mean, maybe the Johnson & Johnson might be the one good group, but the Pfizer and Moderna with the mRNA technology, I would be very leery, folks. If you haven't gotten it yet, I would make sure you don't get it. Kevin McCarthy's luxury rental firm's largest shareholder is Mao's grandson. Interesting. So again, we're starting to see Kevin McCarthy coming out, being pushed out into the light, and being shown for the corruption that he is responsible for. So he's apparently got this luxury downtown DC digs are controlled by a Chinese Communist Party. Can't make the stuff up. Mao's grandson, and Mao's about as right communist as they get, I'm pretty sure. Now, this is awesome. This is a great little Eric Wheeler at his best. This is 11 seconds. Check this out.
Travel and tourism is on fire in Portland. We're seeing more conventions here, more building. A lot is happening here, and it's exciting. And we're seeing more development, travel and tourism.
So exciting. I mean, it is so exciting when you see buildings burning down to the ground and people breaking storefronts and glass and, businesses that people have spent their entire lives building. Oh, it's an exciting time to live in Portland, let me just say. Oh, this guy's a piece of work, isn't he? Fantastic. Fantastic. And just a great example, the Dems calculating and trying to get ahead of Trump. This is perfect 14 seconds of life right here. You're going to enjoy this, I hope. But this really is. It's like the Democrats trying to figure it out, calculate it, like, all right, there's the angle and the attack, and all I got to do is just jump, and I got this. I got him. I'm in front of Trump. Here I go. Boom. Oh, didn't even come close to making it. Oh, a little high and just a bit outside. I think so. And finally, new Black Lives Matter apparel is banned from the Summer Olympics in Tokyo. Is it really Sumner? Is that what they typed in here? Sumner Olympics in Tokyo? I don't normally catch spelling mistakes because I suck at it. Wow. Anyway, yeah, they're not going to let people wear Black Lives Matter at the Summer Olympics in Tokyo or the Sumner Olympics in Tokyo either, apparently. Or that's going to be like the thing. They're like, we were talking about the Sumner Olympics. You can wear Black Lives Matter to the Summer Olympics. That's okay. I don't think so. But yeah, kind of goes to show you maybe Tokyo's starting to get on board the great train that we're all heading down, because they're not going to let this nonsense continue. And especially now that we've got demands from Black Lives Matter. Yeah, you all are terrorists. Sorry, terrorists. Or at least terrorists have taken over your organization and, you had a good cause at one point. But yeah, facts have come out that have really rained on your parade, and now you're making demands. That makes you a terrorist. That's like a thunderstorm on your parade. That's like, Macy's Day parade and all the balloons get struck by lightning. That's basically what just happened. Yeah. And that's kind of how we're winning this game, folks. And we are. United, we are strong. Where we spend our money, we are strong. Each of us, individually, where you spend your individual dollars makes a huge difference. By the way, if you're going to donate, contribute through this if you don't mind, at least is my suggestion, through here rather than any of the Republican National Convention or any of that crap, unless that's what you want to, but that money is not necessarily going to the people that we support. The Republican National Committee is going to give like Liz Cheney money and people like that we absolutely don't want getting money. Trump will make sure the money gets to the people it should get to. So that's something to consider. Where you spend your money, the choices you make with your almighty dollars or bitcoins or whatever the frick is key. It is the strongest thing you bring to the table. That's all they see us as, and for the most part, most of us, that's all we actually are, is batteries, like they said in the Matrix, but essentially money spenders. We're taxpayers and money spenders. And that is the power we have. And some of us, yeah, certainly, web pages and all this other stuff, sharing stuff on social media, all these things help. Remember, the donations you guys provide to me and channels like mine are amazing. I thank you guys. There's a PayPal link below. So many of you have been amazing to me, and I can never, ever even come close to thanking you all. And I also want to say, you guys, oftentimes when you donate, write the coolest little notes in that PayPal thing. Thank you. I read every freaking one of those, and you guys are amazing. I mean, it just, you do something that you love doing, and you enjoy it, and then you find people that really like what you're doing, and you're like, oh, cool. And then you eventually come to the conclusion, there's a lot of people that seem to like what I'm doing. And man, you guys are the best. I mean, it really just, it changes the whole outlook of this. Instead of just doing something fun that I like doing, I actually feel like I'm making a difference. And that's pretty awesome when you're doing your life's work and it feels like it's making a difference. We are changing the world, all of us, folks. Where we go one, we go all. It's On the Fringe with Dan Radio Style.